Silence in Crisis, Native Americans, Part 2. Okay, so Tribal Law and Order Act was signed by President Obama in 2010. The act is supposed to give the tribal law enforcement access to law enforcement databases. They stated that this act was supposed to help address crime in the tribal communities and place a strong emphasis on decreasing violence against American Indian and Alaska Native women. The act encourages the hiring of more law enforcement officers for Indian lands and provide additional tools to address critical public safety needs. Has this made a difference? I don't know. I can't answer that right now. I'm sure that I will end up answering this, but right now I cannot say yes or no. Looking at what I saw from one community on 1.8 million acres with only 2 officers patrolling, that might give me my answer. I can't say. They state that Congress did recognize the tribes and do have jurisdiction over all Indians regardless of what tribe you belong to. And they have been not willing to extend that to non-Indians, and that's the problem. No one knows who is taking the women and who are kidnapping or murdering them. They have no idea who it is. None whatsoever. Here's another article that estimates the number of missing and murdered. 4,200 unsolved. In 2022, over 5,400. And this is what I'm stating, is that these numbers are just not syncing to different resources, different media outlets, different websites and stuff that you go on. There's just not enough numbers to be able to say what has happened, what is going on, why is this a problem, why is this an epidemic, why is there silence, why isn't there this and that, and so forth. So again, there are so many families that do not have the answers. If you go and you do some research and stuff, you're going to find that the tribal law enforcement community blames the federal law enforcement. Federal law enforcement doesn't want to take accountability because they have certain restrictions. Well, then the tribal community, the chief of the tribe, has asked for help, but his cries have been ignored. So who is to blame in all of this? Why is this a problem? Why is this not being resolved? What is it going to take to resolve? And unfortunately, when you have laws in place and so forth, sometimes hands are just tied. There's nothing that one group can do that the other group can do, and so forth. Is this what is causing the silence? Is the silence because they're not allowed to speak about it? Or is the silence because media doesn't want to cover it? Is the silence from our government not wanting to take part in this because they just want to hide behind a certain law? Why hasn't lawmakers made a difference? What is it going to take to find results for these families of missing or murdered loved ones? So here's where the red handprint across the mouth represents the silence of attention of missing and murdered. The lack of attention by law enforcement and media. Did you know that there are people in the Native American communities that are upset because some people wanted to do trends on TikTok using the red handprint across the mouth and not represent what it stands for? Not understanding what that red handprint means. There was an outpour about this, that people were using this as a trend. It's not a trend. This is people who are missing their loved ones, not knowing if they're murdered or missing. It's not a trend to put a red handprint over the face, over the mouth, without knowing the knowledge and the reason why they are standing up and stating that they've been silenced too long. They want results. They want these cases solved. They want to find their loved one. If you watched the episode, I think it was True Detectives, the one that had Jodie Foster in it, in the last season, and they were in Alaska. And if you watch parts of that, you'll see where one of the officers there was Native American. She received backlash from her community and stuff because she was part of law enforcement. She was trying to make a difference in what was going on in the community and so forth. And then there was parts where they were putting the red handprint across the face, or they were doing different signs and stuff on their mouth. And she was upset with her daughter because that she was being a part of this in the community of the tribal community. If you've never seen those episodes, I strongly suggest to watch True Detective. Also, there's a movie out that's called Wind Talk. It has Elizabeth Olsen and I forgot who else is in there. Watch that movie as well. Start to learn about this if this is something that you're interested in. I am going to start having just like a live just as discussing this topic. I'm not going to do it on every live, but I will have a live dedicated just for this topic alone. Again, the red hand over the mouth is not a trend. It's a statement. These men and women have been silent for way too long. Their silence are for many different reasons. And as we dig more into this, we'll find out the exact reasons why the media will not cover it, why law enforcement is not doing anything about it, what is going on in the tribal communities that we cannot stand up and say enough is enough. Enough is enough. My next series, I'm going to dig into Ashley Heavy Runner. She's age 20, still missing to this day. This is her missing person flyer on the FBI website. I started digging into this story, and I really want to bring attention to this person, and that's going to be in my next series. I will probably dig into that maybe next week, maybe this weekend. I'm not sure yet. But this one right here absolutely just broke my heart. So again, this is a missing person. Her family does not know what has happened to her. She vanished. Gone. They don't know if she's missing or if she is one of the murdered victims out here in our country. And when I say sacred ground and so forth, when I was talking about that, if you're not familiar, the sacred ground is that no one is technically supposed to walk on that ground and so forth. I think that you have to have permission to be able to go onto that ground. And if you've ever watched anything to do with like ghost hunting and so forth, when they're talking about skinwalkers and they're out there on properties and so forth, there's part of the community. If you haven't seen that Ghost Adventures one that they did about skinwalkers and how they had to go through a ritual to be able to go onto part of a sacred ground. Now, with that being said, is this where maybe some of them are buried? Nobody can sit there and say yes or no. If they got caught on it, that probably wouldn't have been well. But there's that is something that I find intriguing as well. So if you haven't seen that episode, I'd definitely check it out because you do have to go through rituals to be able to enter onto sacred grounds. And the skinwalker thing is a whole other series that can possibly be done. But I hope that everybody is pumped and ready to see how this is going to go. And thank you for taking the time out, and I will see you soon.